I wouldn't consider myself a very superstitious person, but I've had an eerie number of misfortunes happen at a particular piano competition to the point where I would say I was cursed. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's take it back to 2016 when I was first going to my city's performing arts school. I was in 7th grade, so I wasn't technically in the high school program, but I was in what was called the preparatory program, where basically after school on Monday, Wednesday, Fridays, for about 2.5 hours, we would perform for each other, have private lessons, and just basically learn about classical music. A few months into the program, my teacher told me about this piano competition that was held annually around April. Now, I'm not gonna say that they forced us to pay $50 to go to a piano competition every year that we did not want to go to, but they strongly recommended it. And being the overachiever that I was, I didn't really see the problem in this. I figured, ooh, a competition. I'm gonna beat everybody, because I was, a kid. But basically, the competition was held about an hour away, which means that we had to wake up early in the morning, drive an hour away to have the competition, stay in the city for the entire day, and stay for the award ceremony that happened later in the evening. Now, the fun part came when my teachers told me all of this information, and I had to relay it to my parents by myself because they didn't send out anything informing us of what was happening. So they expected literal 12-year-olds to communicate this entire day trip plan to our parents and not have them question it with the teachers. So that was fun. But even after all of the chaos that surrounded planning the trip and practicing for the competition, I was still really excited to go. I mean, this is my first national piano competition, and I was really excited to see where my hard work over the months would lead. So my dad and I, like the cool people we were, packed our stuff, got on the road for our 10 a.m. time slot, and started driving. Everything was great. The weather, perfect. Traffic, very minimal. Everything was going great for the first 20 minutes, and then we hit a bump. All of a sudden, the car slowed down and there was this clinking noise that kept coming from the back. We quickly realized that there was no way the car was going to be able to take us the rest of the way. There was definitely something wrong with the internal engine, and we were stranded on the side of the interstate for 20 minutes. My dad was calling the tow company and the insurance companies and just anybody he could to try and deal with the situation. Meanwhile, my mom was at work, so I ended up calling my grandmother to see if she could potentially take me to the competition. There was still enough time to narrowly make it if we hurried immensely. So my grandmother showed up and I got into the car, but my dad had to stay with his car so that the tow truck could find them. So as I got into the car, I looked in the back window and we drove away, and I saw my dad slowly disappear into the distance, and I started crying because I was 12. I felt like I was just abandoning him for some stupid piano competition, and I was, but I was really upset about it. But luckily, we got to the competition on time. I barely had time to play a couple of scales before going in for my time slot, and I actually ended up winning that year in my category. Nothing like a trauma and breaking down on the side of the highway to get the adrenaline going for the competition. But I hear what you're saying. SC, that's a crazy story, but how is this a curse? Well, let's fast forward. So the next year rolls around, it's 2017, and my department chairs highly recommend that we reapply for the competition. And being that I had miraculously won last year, I figured, hey, I'm gonna reclaim my title, let's do it. So a few months of preparation go by and we're back to the day of the competition. My dad and I figured this is a take 2. We got a new car between this and last year. We were like, nothing bad's gonna happen this time. We got this. This is gonna be great. Little did we know, the universe had other plans for us. You see, between 12 and 13, your girl had sort of undergone puberty and all of the womanly stuff that's associated with that. And since this was in a time that I was very new to the whole, Aunt Flo experience, I hadn't started tracking anything. I hadn't brought any extra backup pads because I wasn't on the flow. Why would I bring anything? So I had no preparation. And yeah, as you may have guessed, I started that day with my monthly cycle. So that was very fun. Because I had immense cramps. That day was just a combination of just the worst. I was having horrible cramps. We had to stop in multiple stores to try and find pads that fit me, and it was just very chaotic. It did not help that the pieces that I were playing were very emotionally based. I really had to put a lot of, emotion into it and like change very quickly between different dynamics. It was a lot to think about. And I, as a student, as I've said in other videos, was just very meticulous with my techniques and less so focused on emotional stuff. So it was already a challenge, and the fact that I was cramping like crazy did not help. So needless to say, I didn't win, but I did end up placing third in the competition that year. But it only made me more motivated to try and reclaim my title next year when I would become a high schooler. So 2018 was my first year of high school, and as such, I was able to claim a crucial fact on my entrance application, which was I was a late starter. They had their own category for specific late starters compared to everybody at the regular level, which I don't really know how you discern that. But basically that meant while all of my way more talented and way more invested classmates duked it out in the hard competition, I basically got a freebie pass and got to compete against everybody at different levels who were just happened to be my age that I didn't know. And so that was pretty awesome. The start of this year, I was starting to feel a little bit anxious about the quote-unquote curse. We checked the car, got it checked, my regulating systems were fine, and we brought preparations this time. And we actually got there without spontaneously combusting, and I got through my performance. I figured, oh my gosh, the last 2 years were just crazy coincidences, but now the curse is over, everything's gonna be fine, we just have to make it through the award ceremony. So we celebrated with a lunch at a seafood place. That was a bad idea. About an hour before the award ceremony was supposed to start, I was sitting in the lounge with my classmates, chatting it up about how we thought we all did, all this stuff, and all of a sudden, I feel this just wave of nausea come over me. I run to the restroom and all over in the toilet in the restroom, and it was so bad. I felt horrible. I still felt nauseous after that. And so the entire time leading up to this ceremony, I was just sitting there, oh my God, felt horrible. And one thing I neglected to mention about this award ceremony is that when they would announce winners, they would go like in groups of categories. So they'd have like 5 different categories and they'd announce all the placers, and you take a picture. And then after that, after everybody took the picture, the announcer would call one person in that group to do an encore performance of one of their pieces in front of all of the parents, teachers, and students. So the whole time, I was just standing on that stage, smiling, trying to have fun and take pictures, while also trying not to vomit all over the stage, and hope to God that they did not pick me to play this piece again. And luckily for me, they picked another first placer in a different category. Now, I cannot verify or confirm that this, happened, but the announcer kept looking at me the entire time, and he saw that I was just looked terrible. And I think that he changed his person he was gonna pick because he kept looking at me the whole time. I was like he was gonna pick me, and at the last second he looked at this other guy and asked him if he wanted to play. So thank God that my illness looked as bad as I felt that night, because if I would have had to play my piece again in front of everybody while trying not to vomit, I don't know what I would have done. I don't know. So next year, 2019, I was a sophomore, and the universe, wouldn't you know it, had actually decided to give us a little bit of a warning that it was going to be a horrible day in advance. Basically, there were multiple weather stations saying that it was going to be thundering with a chance of flood warnings all day. But my family and I worried that we weren't going to be able to get the refund, and also hearing some sources saying the storm wasn't going to be as bad as everyone was saying, decided to go anyway because we didn't have enough torture in our lives from this competition yet. But actually, a little bit of good luck came our way because the storm had actually slowed down and actually hit the area really hard the next day. But the actual day of the competition, totally sunny, totally fine. And I ended up winning first place with nothing bad happening. So this is probably the least cursed year for me for this competition, definitely. But I did have a friend that decided to sit out the competition for fear of the storm and was not able to get his money back. So that sucks for him. But yeah, least cursed year, but it was not the last. The next year was 2020, and as most of us know, it was a pretty cursed year for everybody. Basically, everything got shut down, and my school didn't even know if we were going to be able to turn for classes, let alone go to competitions or do anything with each other for a while. So the competition obviously got canceled because of all the stuff going on in the world. But in 2021, it was kind of still up in the air. Some people were still, nervous about doing it. Other people were just ready to start up normal life again. But in 2021, I had made the decision not to go to the competition. My first year since being at the school that I did not listen to my teachers and did not go to the highly recommended competition. But I just wasn't comfortable, and I think my teachers understood that eventually, that I just wasn't ready to go back in person to do anything, because originally the competition was like, we're coming back, we're gonna be in person again, we're gonna get back to normal life as soon as possible. So all of my other classmates signed up for the competition that they thought was gonna be in person. And then a month before, it got moved to Zoom because apparently there was still COVID stuff and restrictions going on. And I think this was around the time that the Delta variant was huge and coming back around, so they moved it to Zoom. So last minute, my teacher had to order microphones for everybody, microphones with HDMI cords that could plug into computers of all different kinds, and get them picked up by all of my classmates. Had to come to school and pick up the microphones, learn how to set them up with their computers, on top of preparing for all the regular competition stuff that is already super difficult for kids to do. And then, a week before the competition was gonna start on Zoom, they canceled it. So I guess I avoided all of the catastrophe involved for senior year because I was just dealing with college acceptances and doing all of that, but I kept hearing from my teacher and other classmates just how horribly unlucky this competition was that year. And I was like, join the club. But it was really crazy, and that was the last year that I was eligible to compete in the competition. So looking back at my piano competition series, I don't know, I find it very fun, and the memories and stuff from the competitions and the, classmates and my friends that I went with, it was very fun for that reason. And I think it did teach me a lot, having to prepare months in advance and work and prepare and keep up a piece all just for 5 minutes of playing it in front of random people that you hopefully get it right or you don't, is scary, anxiety producing, but also kind of thrilling when it pays off. And for all the people out there that are, asking themselves, should I do piano competitions? Should I not? I would say totally try, but don't feel like you're forced to do it. Because for me, I think music is all about what makes you happiest. Some people, and I know some people, that love the piano competition season. They thrive on competitions because it motivates them in a way like no other. Some people love the performance aspect of music, and they love, seeing everybody's reactions and, getting that applause and preparing for something and just showcasing all of your talents. For me, I love doing music on my own terms, making videos about music, inspiring and teaching people about the experiences I've had with music. And I think that's just so much more fulfilling for me. But looking back on the competitions, hey, it's all about how you look at it, right? I may have been cursed, quote unquote, for all the years that I went, but I ended up placing every single year that I went with 3 out of 4 first place finishes in my categories. So overall, hey, it's definitely an experience I will never forget. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I know this is sort of different from a lot of my other videos, but I'm just trying to like do a bunch of stuff. If you want to hear more like story time videos like these, for me, I have a bunch of crazy stories from my time at my performing arts high school that like you wouldn't believe. So leave a comment below if you want to listen to those. But in the meantime, thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you in the next one. Bye!